So just while we look for questions, so just put your hand up if you've got a question. We'll have one ready at the back. Let me just ask you quickly, Jamie, we did hear these criticisms from Mick, who was just saying that people who can't afford to support themselves will be of no interest to people selling financial services. I mean, you've implied you can invest £1, but these products that you've been demonstrating to us today are essentially there for people who are reasonably pretty savvy. They know what goals they want to do. They're already sophisticated investors. They're not people off the street.
I think there's two sides to any sword, essentially. I think on one hand, because you can use data to segment a client base quite dramatically, you can also identify those people who are at risk, who do need the most help, and education then can provide the mechanism there to get these people into a position where they are savvy investors. So we've got very low barriers to our technology, but unfortunately we find that only people who really understand investing come towards us. The market is coming towards us. People are more savvy than they were, say, 5 years ago, but still, unfortunately, they need to do more. People do need to come to us in order to, and then we can engage with them and we can help them on that journey. I mean, we do help with the Open University, the the Centre for the Public Understanding of Finance, for instance. I mean, we do a lot of research. We do a lot of savings gap research. We try and help, but people just aren't listening. So we can use our data and we can identify these people. We can say, well, you're not saving enough. Have you tried this? Have you tried setting a budget? How can we help you? But people just don't want to hear. So I'm interested to see how we can take that side further, how the people who have been excluded can come forward. But it's a question of data.
Liz.
I was just going to say that, I mean, I was hoping to come across as fairly neutral about fintech because I see it as tools. I see it as interesting. I'm not a fanaticist, and I'm certainly not a technologist or a geek. But I think that all of these things, it depends in whose hands they are and what their motives are. And I think looking back, I think companies like True Potential, their motives. I don't think people have a problem with companies making money from them, for example, or I don't think they have a problem with being presented with more personalised products and services that are meaningful for them. I think that the industry has a lot to learn from some of the Amazons and the Googles in the techniques and how they deploy them, but we've already said that, and we already know that the behavioural nudges can work. So it's a question of
do you think we learn from big scandals? I was just thinking about the Bright House story that's been in the news in the last month or so, where the truth about how people were manipulated in order to get them to hire more products was kind of laid bare. Do you think people will become aware about how their data is being used, and we might get a backlash where people will actually stop letting organisations, you've mentioned some of the big ones, or imply we know the ones you mean, and that we won't let them have so much of our data?
Well, it depends is the answer to that, because it will probably happen in the same order that the people that are the most savvy and the most interested will pay the most attention to these things because it's on their radar screen. Other people are worrying about can they pay their bills, can they save, and all the rest of it. But maybe it takes things like, the last financial crisis didn't seem to me to have people up in arms for a long time. You had people like Positive Money and people marching on Wall Street and all the rest of it at the time, but that kind of then slips back into daily life again. So if there are organisations that can keep it up there, keep it prevalent, if there are people that are talking in schools, then yes, maybe they will pay more attention. That's my optimistic hope.
Okay, question at the back.
Bramley Open University. I'm a big fan of financial technology and its ability to include people and to bring products to a wider audience. But I am aware there are obviously a lot of risks and worries that people have about it. What are your view on the safeguards needed to make sure that financial technology works for people?
Well, I think there's a lot of safeguards already in place. We take on a huge amount of liability, and in fact 40% of our profit goes on regulations. So when there's all these huge barriers to entry, getting those barriers to entry down can easily be done across the whole industry by reducing the amount of regulation. So with things like GDPR coming in, obviously that's a great step in the right direction in terms of data protection and data security. But there's other issues within that need to be addressed as well. I mean, we have banking integration, we have this open banking capability already, and we take on a huge amount of liability just to be able to provide that. And we provide that free of charge for our clients because it's the right thing to do. But again, if other people took a leaf out of this book, I think the whole industry would be in a better place.